over what you should analyze for your assignment B, your written language analysis project, where you're going to be analyzing the syntax along with the morphology and the semantics of an English language learner's writing sample. So when you get to that project, you definitely want to go back through this video, and also I've created this list for you to go through the aspects that you want to look for and comment on, both that the child is doing well, right, the accomplishments, and also maybe some errors that you are noticing in the child's writing. Okay, so the first thing you want to analyze for the syntax is the construction of auxiliary modal and lexical verbs. So for example, is there any use of the following tenses: present progressive, past progressive, present perfect, past perfect, any modal usage, okay? And what you want to see is find those constructions and see if they are written correctly or incorrectly, okay? Remember that for your written language analysis, you are writing an essay on everything the student does right in those three categories: morphology, syntax, and semantics. You're only writing one error for each of those, okay? So what you're probably looking for is mostly the accomplishments at this point. Here's something else that you want to look for in terms of syntax. Is the student able to transform positive to negative statements correctly and appropriately? Right? Are there any negative statements like the use of not, and is the student able to appropriately use the do before the not? Same thing with questions, right? And if that's a yes/no question or a question-word question. So here's an example of a student's, an English language learner student's writing sample, okay? And much like you see on this slide right now, you're going to get the actual written sample and a transcript of the writing of what the child has written, okay? So let's read through it together. If I get lost, I would call a police and called my mom and take me to the police station and put me on TV. And if you know me, called police station and my mom could go police station. Okay. So here what we want to see is find some accomplishments in syntax. So what we can try and look for is the order of words, right? So let's see if we can find examples of SVO, right? So I would call a police. We have subject I, verb would call a police object, right? So you would go through your samples and find examples of SVO, correct SVO, in your links. And this is something that you can describe in that accomplishments section. Okay, another aspect that you would want to look for is any sort of adjective before noun or adverb before adjective or verb, okay? So we can see police station, right? The police station. We have the determiner in front of the noun, okay? That's something we can comment on. We also have my in front of the noun mom. And then when we think about the verb usage, right, we see a modal verb, would call. Now, called is not spelled correctly, but the organization of would, that modal verb in front of call, that lexical verb, is something we can comment on in syntax and say that they organize this correctly. We also see the use of prepositional phrases to the police station, right? So this is correct. That's a prepositional phrase. We can also try and focus on some of the challenges, okay? So if we look at some of the challenges, we can see that my mom could go X police station. So we see that 2 is missing. So that's something that is a syntactical issue, because the 2, and you can use the terminology, right, that preposition to is required prior to the noun in order to construct that prepositional phrase, right, where the preposition and the noun phrase together, the to preposition, police station being the noun phrase, makes that that prepositional phrase. You could also talk about the could go, right here. Also again another use of a modal verb in front of the verb here. Okay, so let's go over the objectives again. Hopefully after this session you will be able to diagram noun, verb, and prepositional phrases. Also identify the parts of speech in order to do that. Hopefully you can identify lexical and syntactical ambiguity, and describe the transformations for question, negative, and passive sentences using appropriate linguistic terminology. Also, hopefully you can describe and use the use of syntax in a written sample.